This is Margaret Ann Windsor. The name I have to use is Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married Childers. I was kidnapped at age 2 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, near Huntsville, where the Space Center became NASA. Uh, I'm not going to go any further here. I'm going to say this. This is video 3, and I'm going to mention Michael Jackson. There's more to how I know that Michael Jackson was programmed. And very real is the possibility, and I'm almost sure that he was given hypnotic suggestions to not sleep. And until that's undone, it's like hypnosis that you watch, only it's done before a crowd, and they can put you to sleep. And if they don't wake you up, you got problems. So anyway, it's done. Mind control is without your will or knowledge, and it's certainly a civil rights violation beyond belief. Freedom of speech, freedom of anything. You can be on death row like Scott Peterson is, and like the young man on Bent Mountain here in Roanoke, Virginia. I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to try to finish this just a bit here. I hope this is going. I'm going to try to do this from memory, and I'm jumping around, I know, with the little bitty phone, itty bitty phone. Today's the day they did a year ago was the rally in Charlottesville, so where so much has happened. But what I want to get to, I want to mention Michael Jackson again here, because the pajamas that he appeared in court has to do with that. Okay, what's that? He was jumping up and down on the car, and there's something happened with that. And it would fit in, and you would know that he was under mind control, but and you can go from there. I mean, he was told not to sleep, and he didn't sleep. Oh, sure, there was something else there, but anyway, the other day I went to the doctor, and I got back, and I'm grateful for this being put up. It caught my attention. I hadn't thought of this. I don't know why suddenly these two people uh, were in my doctor's office. I'd never seen them before, and it corresponded with being taken out to Scott Hill, as in redoing in links to the Scott Peterson, who's on death row, who was programmed. But anyways, you made a mess out of this. Is a few days back. On my arm here, taking blood. But in the back, you get into DNA, and so many people, when I put this up, have said, why don't you have a DNA? Well, first of all, Anastasia was murdered up in Charlottesville. 1984 on a Sunday, May the 4th or 6th, whichever day Sunday's at. They've never said she was murdered. She was locked up in a mental hospital illegally, very illegally. Oh my God, what they can do with the mental health system. Anyway, she was murdered as I drove through, and this was after I'd done the book and tried to get it published. I was almost killed twice. Jack Hartsfield, the reporter, FBI, comes into it and all that, saved my life, and it goes on and on. I found out about my real name when I was flown out to Larry Flint's, who had been shot by a program shooter. I had been writing about mind control and the Tesla files, and I have to insert this here, whether you connect it or not. Tesla files were stolen in 1930. I've put this up, and this is part of me telling about the mind control murders, only I was telling about the patterns, too. The Tesla files were stolen in 1930, and I hope President Trump doesn't mind me putting this here, because I think he's a good man. I certainly know a lot about Hillary Clinton and all the mess that goes back. And
I taped this for the Clearwater Police back in 1982, and they grinned at me when they took it, and they told me they already knew. I had worked for the Tampa Hilton. By the way, I want to, but this may not connect to you, but I'm going to get it up here. While I was at the Tampa Hilton, I was sales secretary. Maisie was the secretary. She was CIA. John Bristol was the manager. He was CIA. They had pictures up on the wall there and of in the White House with President Carter, and as far as I thought Carter was a good man. I really did. Then I find out later, and I'm jumping around a bit, and I hope I get back to this. After all they did to me and almost killed me, I managed, and all I went through, to keep my safety deposit box paid. In 1985, I believe I was in Knoxville. I paid it, and they sent a letter back to me and said they had removed it for safekeeping. It was in Bank. What was the name of it? It was on Terrell Mill, across from Windy Hill. It was on Windy Hill Road, I believe, where I'd worked for Urban Medical Hospital. And get this, writing a book and telling all this, Urban Medical, when I went back a few years ago, has moved just down the street, close to 41 and Windy Hill. It's now a cancer research center. It's become big. Can you believe this? I'm writing about this. They have the Tesla files. They have cure back then, where you can cure illness or create it. You make people appear to commit suicide when it's murder by mind control. You can put them under hypnosis or mind control. Now I want to go back to Maisie, and the person that came in and actually took my job there. I was sales secretary. She took my job. She was came in on a temp, and then she scooted me out. They scooted me out. Her husband was FBI. So when you're blaming people, don't necessarily blame the FBI in any of this. They're, So I don't know what to say about it. People have allowed it to happen. You're talking about a corrupt government that you get mad at me for telling you about. A lot of people do. Excuse me for the nice people who have commented, etc. And don't let me lose my train of thought here. I am very tired from being run out to Scott Hill and twice, and all the mess that went on out there, and coming back here and knowing they could, because of the lease. And can you see me getting into court and trying to explain this, and how someone would riddle me, and but they could take the last penny I've got, because you're right, I broke the lease. I wasn't going to stay out there and die for them. So now where am I going? They could take every penny I've got. But anyway, back to the FBI. The woman came in, her husband worked for the FBI. And by the way, Tammy was the name of a secretary there. Younger, well, not that much younger than me, but younger. Her boyfriend was married. Was he CIA or FBI? I can't remember. And he was furnishing her a house there. And she told me all about it. I didn't like her, quite frankly. But anyway, the woman that came in on Kelly's temp services, I believe, was FBI. Her husband was. And she was talking about what I'd been telling, and I was afraid to even tell it, because people say, oh, no, there's no mind control. That's crazy. Well, it plays a crazy card. That's why it's happened. Mind control has nothing to do with mental illness. Mental illness hospitals, if you notice, have flourished. My God. Anybody that appears to have a problem is referred there, or if God help us, like Scott Peterson, they're on death row. They're not charged with being crazy. They're put on death row. But look at all the others. They're supposed to have mental problems. The Vegas shooter, the autopsy of his brain to find out his motive. The motive, it's not funny. I don't know what to do with it. You tell me what to do. I've gone on here and I was hoping people would get out and protest. Instead, they're protesting take away guns. How about the knives? How about the cancer they give people? All these others, it's unlimited, the use of it. And back to Urban Medical Hospital. I worked there, and that's where I found out, too, part of it. I was doing books and payroll, and payroll, doing the books and payables involved paying inventory. And you should stop and ask yourself what's going on. I learned about pharmaceuticals and, how much is involved in pharmaceuticals and inventory in the hospitals. And here they've had a cure, and I'm just going to stop here on this. They've had a cure since before the Tesla files that were stolen. And guess who stole them? Was part of it. I have to laugh because I don't know what to do with it, because I like Trump, and I hope he's a good guy. But his uncle that they mention now and then was the one that they say in the book, and it was about the FBI. And I don't know if I've still got a page out of it or not. I've put it up years ago on my YouTube and Facebook. Donald Trump's uncle was that person. So anyway, here I've written about the Tesla files, or them being stolen, and about mind control murders, and illnesses can be cured or manufactured, and all this. And Larry McDonald, congressman doctor, goes down in the plane that just happened to veer into Russian airspace, 10 miles into it, and get shot down. 250 plus went down and drowned. Larry McDonald, the congressman doctor, was supposed to be on it, and I say supposed to be because I don't know that he was. I've been told by some he wasn't. It was a takedown to make it appear. But this will give you the clue. Former President Nixon was on that flight. He was taken off just before it left and went down. So there you go. And you get into the Henry Kissinger, the sorry sot, your globalist government, and that came to be after they took my father down, a beautiful man, and assassinated his character in My Mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe. Yay for the O'Keefes. Thank you. Now, I'm going to go to this, or try to. I was talking about Michael Jackson and mind control used on him. The pajamas and his behavior. It's a timeline on this, too, if you ever hear it. He's jumping up and down on the car. He appeared in court in the pajamas. Anyway, let me put it this way. It's as easy as giving... he had to have been under mind control because of the pajama part, him wearing pajamas to court. That was told before that ever happened. So, anyway, it's not funny. The part that when I laugh or try to, is so hideous. It's like the FBI. Supposed to be retired. His name was supposed to be Noah, and I remembered meeting him when he was with my husband at Brown Engineering in Huntsville, became IBM, the Space Center. I remember seeing him and through the back of the car, and he was waving at me, and John was, anyway, he's a friend that worked with my husband at Brown Engineering. I didn't know he's FBI. Anyway, now then you fast forward to 1984-85. He's coming in to get gas, and I'm in Grottoes, Virginia, and I've got the car furnished to me by Larry Flint, Hustler Magazine, for a year after he helped me in the campaign to replace Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald, who'd gone down in the plane August the 31st of 83. I'd written about him in the book I tried to have published, and I was almost killed, MD license to kill, about mind control. So anyway, you can take a plane, you can program the pilot to fly off into the side of the mountain. Now then, Noe told me He said when he came into the store many times and I pumped the gas to go into his car, his wife never got out. He told me that she was 8 years older than him. I believe I'm correct there. She worked in personnel, FBI. She was in the car with him many times. She never rolled the window down. She stayed in the car. I don't know why. He always came in, and I liked him. He said they've made it so ludicrous. People know you're telling the truth. It gives them a chance to help or walk away. Now, the woman, let me get back to this, at Tampa Hilton, the FBI was her husband. I'm looking to see how much time I've got left, if any. She came there to take my job. She started out as Kelly Tim. And she told me, and I didn't like her, quite frankly. She said, what you're talking about mind control, how did she put this? Let me see if I can think. She said, in the end of it, first of all, it's like taking a person down. You have to take this one down with mind control because they'll get you. It's zapping, almost like zapping back then. I don't know how it's going now. Maybe so many people are under it and don't even know it. You know, how would you know? And if you went to a doctor, you found out, they'd lock you up and feed you psychotic drugs. By the way, where are your dentists? They put root canals in this can be proven. Amen. From way back. Put chips in root canals, and that's part of the way you do it. I'm sure they're in any part of your body. I've been telling about that, thus mind control. So how would you know? You went to a doctor, and if they programmed you to do the shootings like at Grand Theater in Aurora, Colorado, James Holmes, they put him in a mental hospital, treating him for mental illness and giving him psychotic drugs. Can you even imagine what this man has gone through, young fella? Mental illness has nothing to do with mind control. You have to stop the programming. And where are your doctors and your psychiatrists and your doctors, again, dentists, on all this? Have you heard any of them speak out? Very few. If you did, you would have to go to, and I'm going to say their names here. They've never mentioned me and what's happened. Part of it, I guess, I'm sure is because I'm British. And it would tell who my father is and what happened to him and this country's collusion and all of that. And the trying to take down the British government and imposing your own monarch, who is Illuminati, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. My own uncle and Elizabeth works for the Illuminati. They're illegal. So, anyway, back to Tampa and this woman. She says, in the end, only one can have control. Because everybody's busy making sure they don't get zapped, I guess, with mind control. So I'll leave it there. I left and didn't have a job, and all hell broke loose then with me again, homeless, and oh boy. And I did that thing for the Clearwater Police. You should know what was on there, okay? And they grinned after they taped it and said, we already know. You know, here's the other thing. If someone has been hypnotized, well, this means somebody's put you up there, and they can prove you've been hypnotized. It's my understanding that your testimony is not, accepted in court. Here's where it comes into it. Someone under mind control, they would have to find out and tell, and then they'd probably be said to be mentally ill, which everybody knows they're not. It's the reason you can't find, the motive in the Las Vegas shooter. They were going to autopsy his brain and didn't see if they could find an abnormality. They should have been checking to see where the chip was, because that man was totally programmed. You have to stop the programming. You don't feed them psychotic